Hey everybody, this is Dan Reynolds, account executive at Lusha, and this is the Find a Way podcast. Today we have a very special guest coming to us from Arizona. His name is Don Alix. Hi Don, thanks for joining.
Dan, good morning.
Don, do me a favor. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and a little bit about the company you're at now?
Well, I am the district manager at Insperity in the Phoenix office. Insperity is a human capital management company helping small businesses run better, grow faster, and make more money. We have about 82 offices across the country and a market cap of about $3.5 billion.
Amazing. So I guess you've been quite busy over the last year. How has the transition, into COVID affected you, the business and you personally?
Well, COVID uniquely has helped our business in that it has heightened the awareness for small business owners as it relates to human resources and human capital. So we've seen the utilization of our service teams, which is a big portion of our value proposition, increase. An example of that would be preparation of the PPP loans, which required small businesses getting their information together very quickly. I think the legislation was passed on one Friday, and the 7 days later, the first loans were being accepted by the banks. And we were able to work with those small clients of ours and get all that information required. So that's an example. But then the getting back to work policy, dealing with some of the emotional issues and kind of brain drain that people are going through, managing a remote workforce, or maybe changing policies if we're going to now have flexible time. Things like that have all been unintended consequences of COVID, and in a strange way blessed our business and helped us grow.
Yeah, it's really, we find that with our business, and we're like a year and a half into this thing now. And it feels like things have changed forever. But, the thing that I love about sales is that, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I know in our last conversation that we had a great talk specifically about cold calling. And I think what happened was you started talking about cold calling. I got this huge smile on my face and just started shaking my head like this for about 10 minutes listening to you talk. Just if we could just even replay that conversation because it was so good. Tell me about how you work with your team, maybe even some of the new people on techniques and how to make a cold call and what you found works and doesn't work.
Well, at Insperity, we reach out to small business owners, and we're looking for a psychographic or a mindset of a small business owner that is always looking to improve. So they have a getting better agenda. Their focus on their value proposition includes having high engagement by their employees, and they care about things like benefits and those type of investments into their folks. So it's not that the people we're reaching out to are necessarily need us, but they want us. So with that in mind, when I have my team reaching out to small business owners, we have to keep top of mind the person on the other end of the phone. And when we're reaching out to them, I try to coach my folks in that if you're asking questions, make sure that the answer to the question has that business owner saying, that's me. So in general, if we can just talk about cold calling or reaching out to people across all disciplines, if you want to get a meeting with a business owner, which many of us say, hey, start at the top and that's where you want to be. But when they ask you what you do, your answer for a business owner says, well, Susie does that, or Dan does that, or Don does that, or Joe does that. You shouldn't be surprised that you get pushed down to those people. So I coach my people to say, when you're talking to a business owner, that they're going to say, what is this about and who are you and what do you do? Make sure that whatever you say makes them say, well, that's me. So you get a meeting with them. So when business owners ask us, what is it that you do? I like to start with why. So if you're a Simon Sinek fan or you like TED Talks, when I first saw his getting to why or start with why, I thought about Insperity and I said, our why is our mission statement. We're very mission driven. So we help the small business succeed so the community prospers. And how we do that is by changing behavior. So if you're like me, changing behavior personally or professionally is hard. But when I say that to a business owner, they think, well, I can think of some people on my team I'd like to change their behavior. And you do it with the carrot or the stick, right? And then finally, our what is we take their payroll burden and we get a higher ROI on that. So cold calling, I think you need to, one, earn the right to get the person on the phone. You need to have three things. You need to be enthusiastic. You need to be sharp as hell, and you have to be perceived as an expert. So like everything else, discipline and habits, preparation, I think leads to successful cold calling, if we're going to call it that.
How big is your team? How many people are you coaching?
10 business performance advisors right now.
And how is it? I'm assuming you have worked remotely mostly for the last year.
You know what? It was about March, right, when we went home and we were remote, but we were back pretty quickly. And it's been interesting to see how by DNA, we're very social, right? We need to be around folks. So people immediately focused on the benefits of remote work. But as time goes by, I don't know how you feel about it in your folks, or you talk to a lot of people in sales through Lusha and what you guys do. I'll just speak for us. We really had a big desire with our company culture and the way we work to be back together. So we've been back in the office, Dan, having face-to-face office meetings for at least 6 months. But what this did do was help us understand technology and use Zoom and some of these other remote pieces to enhance the experience. So I still think face-to-face is important. We've been back in the office for about 6 months.
Great. And I think, for us, being back in the office is so important because as far as, learning and coaching, there's so much, like the reason it's a sales floor is because there's a team. And when there's a team, you should be able to learn from each other. And right. I think that's like for us, it's a great way to get better. And even though the fundamentals of cold calling, are in place and have been in place, I know that being back on the floor has really, helps impact, everybody's performance. Maybe just tell me a little bit about, from your career, how, being on the floor and having other people impact you has helped.
Oh gosh. I mean, my career started in sales with a printing company for 6 years. And then my buddy and I from college started a finance company. We were doing home mortgages, mortgage broker, for lack of a better term. We did that for about 11 years. And then with Insperity. So it's all been in sales really. But again, I think we're social creatures, and some of the best salespeople, if you take a look at something like a disc profile, they're very high D dominant and very high as far as energy and things like that. So I think you feed off of that. And just like if you're making a phone call, there are people that know a lot more about this stuff. I just trust good mentors and I listen to what they say and it works and I keep doing it, right? But they say if you're literally smiling while you're making a phone call, it changes your demeanor and the way you're perceived on the other end. Motion creates emotion. So if you need to stand up or you need to prepare for the phone call or need to smile, you're being around the team, you're getting feedback from other people. I think it enhances the process and makes you seem more real when you're calling someone on the phone versus some of those phone calls we've all received where the person, gets you at dinner time. They ask you a couple of questions if they're good that make you say yes, and then they launch right into a script. Nobody likes that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For us, cold calling obviously is what we do, and it's always, we drink our own Kool-Aid, or we eat our own, dog food, as
Right.
they say. And it's such an important part. And we work in so many different markets that it's always interesting, to see, how like the US will act as opposed to EMEA and then APAC. There's so many, cultural differences there. How do you find like working in different states? Is it the same like from state to state that things might work a little bit better in some regions than others?
It might, but I would caution someone to make sure you don't use it as an excuse. While we're talking about cold calling, there really is no excuse to do true cold calling today. And one of the things I liked when I met you guys is you did some work on LinkedIn. You knew a little bit about what I did and where I was from, and you used that in the introduction. So it wasn't really a cold call, if you understand what I'm saying. It was, hey, you're in the business. Do you utilize this? I think this might help you, and I can give you some references, and this is not a good time. We can talk later. And then the conversations went from there. So I don't care if you're in New Jersey or in Norfolk, Virginia, or Florida or San Francisco, I don't think it makes a difference. You do have to be sensitive to pacing, right? And mirroring the person on the phone. That's when I talk about the three things of being enthusiastic, sharp as hell, and being an expert. The enthusiasm piece, you have to gauge that with the person on the other phone, on the other end of the phone. So if they're very excited, I want to be just as excited, maybe a little bit more. If they're 50%, I want to be 52%. You follow me? So I think you have to gauge that and then mirror, the way they are talking on the phone. But I truly don't believe that there really is any excuse to do a cold call today with all the information is out there, doing a little bit of research and making sure the person on the other end of the phone knows that there is a reason for you reaching out to them.
Yeah, they're almost like it has to be a warm call at this point. I mean, you can't just
Sure,
call somebody randomly. And as you
sure.
said, there are so many great resources out there to make sure that what you're speaking to and whom you're speaking to, that it's always relevant. It definitely will make things smoother from there and give yourself a higher chance of success. And that's what it really is. I mean, cold calling or at least doing sales development. I mean, this is the hardest job in sales, and you really have to prepare to be rejected like 9 out of 10 times and be able to get back on the horse. And it's also, we find that it really is sort of like an entry into sales. In the SaaS sector, if you want to get in, you'll start doing sales development. What's a couple of pieces of advice that you would give folks just starting out in sales, like in that development role where they are doing outbound reaches as their main job?
Well, I think first off, get involved with a company that is mission driven and that matches your personal and professional values. I think that's very, very important. And as you get more tenured in your career, I think it becomes more important to you. So some of us just get lucky. We landed a company that matches our personal and professional values, and some of us seek it out. So I would say seek out a company that is value driven and meets what you want to do. The second thing is trust in the process and the value proposition and the way the sales cycle is developed at that company. So take a look at the most successful people and try not to recreate the wheel. At Insperity, we like to say we're hiring you for your input, not your output. So I want the individuality, and I'm hiring you for your candor or your personality or your eye contact or the way you make someone feel when you talk on the phone or a meeting. They want more of you, right? But don't recreate the wheel. Listen to the people there and look towards mentors and such that you can get involved with and listen to what they're doing. And then there's so much information out there as far as on the internet, as far as YouTube videos, as far as books and people who have written about the psychology. You talked about, rejection and things like that. If you have a fear of rejection, there's no excuse not to get over that by all the great literature out there of people who, I'm reading a book now by a guy who is a negotiator in the FBI, and he talks about embracing no and why actually getting a no is better than a yes. So as soon as your psychology changes a little bit on the way to communicate with people and negotiating and talking with them, it's amazing how it changes your personality and how you think about things. So, get a company with a good culture, follow the sales process and listen to mentors and people that you trust, and then constantly invest in yourself and get better at your craft to become what I said in the beginning, being an expert, being perceived as an expert. People on the phone or in person will tell very, very quickly. I usually say 4 seconds, right? Very quickly when I get you on the phone, you're going to stay on the phone and you're going to think I'm someone formidable that you should talk to or not. So I'd say those 3 things.
That's good. Those are great. Who's that book? Is that Chris Voss you're reading?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it.
wasn't that amazing? Like he's been doing what he's been doing for years, and then he found the market fit with sales. There it is. Never split the difference. I mean, this has become like a sales Bible to some degree, and I love it because this is what makes sales fun. To be able to take like an application like hostage negotiation and really start understanding human psychology. I mean, who would have ever thought that you could put those two things together? But I think him and his group, I think is the Black Swan Group. They've done such a
Right.
phenomenal job at producing the content that they have as far as this book, and then following up online. I mean, isn't sales fun when you get to learn stuff like this?
Yeah, and for me as a coach, I started out in sales and I've been in sales leadership for 6 years now. And as I look back, I started as a manager, and then I kind of morphed into a leader, and now I see myself more as a coach. And I think that's just a maturation process. But for me, when I'm coaching folks, I just wish I could get it to them sooner. So some of it takes patience, but the faster you can accelerate that, the better. And you're right. The book, what was amazing to me about it was you're taking what he did for a living, but now through his company, what he's doing, he's really giving back and saying, hey, through some of these trials and tribulations I've had, you can apply it to different disciplines. I think Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill was the same way, right? He spent all this time with these mentors and masters of industry, and he saw commonalities in the way that they solve problems, but then he applied it to everyday life, and that application you could take anywhere. So yeah, I really think sales is, what do they say? Nothing happens in life until a sale is made, right? And in some genres, I think there's a stigma or negative about sales, but boy, done right, being a trusted advisor or a professional advisor, you could be such a blessing to the people that you touch with what you're doing, if you're doing it the right way. And man, things explode, and it's very satisfying and can be very lucrative too.
Absolutely. And I think one of the best parts for me about sales is that we're basically running our own business, without the risk.
Yeah,
As you said, you find the right company with the right product. Like, this is your business. You want to make more money, work harder. You want to be average, work average. But then if you get those other stuff from the company, excuse me, like you said, like, a good mentor, stuff to help you grow your career. I mean, to me, this is what makes sales, such a great profession, because it's really up to you. And even with the minimum, the company will give you, you still have low risk and really chance at high reward. You know what else I really like that you said, how your career has morphed, from manager to coach. I really like that, because I feel like, as you said, sales has really evolved, where we're not actually even doing cold calls, because everybody knows a little bit about what we're doing, especially in the
sure.
SaaS, space, where clients that are coming in, prospects that are coming in, the most important thing on that first call is to determine, where they are in the buying cycle. Are they 10% in, or are they 90% in? You know,
Right.
and what I think is really helps the people on the salespeople on the floor is having a coach, to help them figure out, how to have that conversation, especially the first one, which is normally the most important, as opposed to being a manager and being more mechanical about the process. I mean, you really need to have a good feel, over the phone, and even what you said before about smiling. I mean, there's so much, a feel and gut that still goes into sales. Tell me about where you think, sales is going from here. I mean, everybody's sort of filtering back to the office. Are you seeing any trends, and what do you think? Is anything changing, or is it just going to go back to the way it was?
Well, everything's always changing, right? People talk about a new normal. My argument would be, I don't know who you're talking about, but I've never been normal. I haven't ever felt normal. I don't know what normal is, right? And maybe that's not what we're striving towards. But, managers kind of work with tasks, and coaches work with people. And again, I believe inherently our DNA makes us very social. So I think that's going to continue. And the better sales folks are the ones that are going to conduct good discovery and make the person that they're talking to feel really important. And that has a lot to do with listening. So you and I have been talking a lot because we're in sales, and that's kind of what we do. But boy, when you get really good, it's being able to ask very, very open-ended questions and making that other person feel very, very important. So we use a technique at Insperity called APAC, which is just a little mnemonic device, which when someone gives you an objection or a question, we acknowledge it first, and we sit in it a little bit, and then we probe a little bit, and then we answer it, and then we move on and make sure that we've kind of confirmed what the C is confirmed, where we are. Because what happens a lot when someone asks you an objection or a question, we think we know the answer. And young in your career, boy, you just want to show off that you know the answer. But if you can really make sure that you heard the question right, you're going to make that person feel so important, invested. It's really a technique that I have to remind myself all the time. So I, as far as it getting back to normal or evolving or changing, I think we're constantly evolving. But that's why I said those people that invest in all these great ideas and different disciplines to become better at connecting with the other person that they're talking to and making them feel really important. We all have problems that we have to solve, business or personally. And if you can get to that through real good discovery, people will be knocking down your door and they'll want to do business with you.
That's so good. I mean, you're so strong with the fundamentals. I love it. It's the other thing about sales, I think, like you just mentioned, it's counterintuitive. When somebody throws an objection at you, the first thing that you're going to say that comes out of your mouth is wrong. So, as you said, use your APAC system, whatever it is. Just pause for a minute, dig a little bit deeper, because that's what sales is all about. I mean, that's what it is, and that's what separates. That's what makes you great from good or from average to good. It's those little things along the way. It's so good.
Discipline and habits.
That's
Right.
it.
I tell my clients when they first meet me, my dad was in the military and practiced corporal punishment. So anything short of you hitting me is fine, because I want them, and sometimes using humor helps a little bit. Again, I'm a C student, so I can use all the help I can get. But the point I want them to know is when you're dealing with me, I want good news fast and bad news faster. And you don't have to worry about being emotional and getting pissed off or whatever it is. I can take that. My goal is that we laugh at the holiday party at the end of the year. But you need to give people permission for that once you get into that relationship, because a lot of folks, salespeople included, are very averse to conflict and issues. And again, if you're in any type of business development, you're calling on a business owner, it's a very lonely place to be sometimes, because that business owner, their husband or their wife doesn't want to hear it anymore. They don't have anybody else that they can talk to. The accountant really doesn't want to listen to. So sometimes a top business advisor or salesperson, you can really be a partner to them. And if they trust you and you get kind of deep into the relationship and let them know, hey, listen, when I want you to reach out to me when it's the worst, when you're PO'd and there's an issue. And it's really helped me in connecting with some of my folks. But I think, again, it takes good coaching. It takes confidence. It takes an attitude of saying every time something happens to you, how I react is really, really important, because emotionally, your first emotion is usually not the right one. So when someone gives me an objection, I like to sit in that a little bit. We collect personal information from our clients all the time, and that sometimes they'll be apprehensive. And I'll say, hey, you know what? First of all, thank you for being careful with your employees' information. Every time I use my ATM at Target, I wonder, am I going to get hacked? Right? Am I going to have see something on the news that, oh, my card got hacked or whatever? So first of all, thank you. Because it's amazing how many people, maybe by referral or whatever else, when I ask for all the data on their employees, they just give it to me. It's a compliment. They trust me. But the fact that you're pushing back, so that's really acknowledging it, right? I want them to really know that I heard that. And then I'll maybe move to, hey, would it help you if I explain what I'm looking for and why? And then maybe there's some alternative ways we can share the information. That's
So
getting
good.
through
So
it.
good. So good. Don, listen, your team is lucky to have you. Just before we wrap up here, just give the audience again, just tell us what you do, and give us the elevator pitch, and tell us how we can reach you if somebody's interested.
So again, Insperity is a human capital management company. We work with small businesses between 5 and 150, 250 people or so. We're looking for someone that has a mindset of getting better all the time, and they're looking at using all the dollars they spend in their payroll burden or their fringe to change behavior or get what we call discretionary effort. So those type of business owners that feel like they're in it alone and they want some type of advisory, I think it just starts with a phone call and a conversation with us. We're nationwide, so you'll find Insperity all across the country. My personal cell is 602-290-2900. Even a C student like me can remember that one. It's pretty easy. It's on all the time. And yeah, you'll find a very consistent type of advisory type conversation with people that you talk to at Insperity. It's a great compliment. Even if we don't do business, we try to hook them into the people in their communities that can help them run better, grow faster, and make more money. And Lusha is one of those, because I ask my people all the time, hey, what do you think about the Lusha product? Is it helping you? And it's been really, really good. So I'm really glad that I met you guys, and the relationship's good, and you're delivering on the promise. It's working.
Great. We love hearing that. Listen, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure as always speaking with you. You're definitely one of the best, sales coaches, that I've spoken to, and every time that we speak, I always end up A, with a big smile on my face, and B, I end up saying, you know what, this guy Don really knows what he's talking about. I need to speak to him again because even though the stuff sometimes, when you hear it over and over again, when somebody delivers it with the passion, the and the expertise that you do, you can't help but enjoy the conversation. So thank you very much for your time, and I keep safe out there, and hopefully we'll speak with you soon.
Pleasure is all mine. Thanks, Dan.
All right. Take care, Don. Thank you.